So hip hop is the only genre where there's like no standard. Like if you play a guitar really well, nobody can tell you, oh, that's not how you play a guitar. That doesn't sound good, right? Like there could be some haters that think they're better than you, but at the end of the day, there's a standard for piano players. There's a standard for singers. There's no standard for hip hop music. There's no standard for rap. So a lot of the times arguing online is pointless. Hip hop debate is honestly pointless because everybody in hip hop thinks that their opinion is correct.
Because when Not Like Us first dropped, everybody that was around me was like, trash.
No
way. Then they heard it 1,000 times.
No way.
Everybody thinks that their opinion is valid. Of course, there's standards to some people. And even if, like, some people may like street rap. Some people may like trap street rap, talking about, you know, shooting, robbing, killing, and stealing.
Y'all want to hear Molly Percocet.
No, I don't.
Not Molly Percocet. We just want to hear more drug dealing and killing. That's right.
That may be somebody's standard. That may be something that people enjoy more so than they like maybe a conscious rap. Hip hop started in the park and it was designed to get people moving, designed to get people dancing. It was very braggadocio. It was very, I'm the best of the East and the West. That used to be hip hop from the early days. It wasn't until like The Message where it started to have some consciousness to it. It started to have some like social awareness. And maybe I may be wrong. Maybe there may be something before The Message. But from what I see on a mainstream level, The Message was like that turning point of like, yo, hip hop can be utilized to say something about what's going on in certain communities. I basically bring this up because this year has been crazy. This year has been a very argumentative year because you have no real standard, right? There's so much hating. There's so much my opinion is right, your opinion is wrong. That
when I first heard In the Club by 50 Cent, automatic, loved it. I heard Not Like Us, I'm like, I can't get with this.
All year, we've been arguing about Kendrick Lamar versus Drake. I honestly think the final nail in the coffin was the lawsuit or the pre-lawsuit. To call foul and say they're cheating is crazy to me.
Embarrassing.
But I don't know. I don't know how that's going to play with him, knowing that there are so much bots out there. I don't want to get into that. I just want to make this about this whole year. This whole year has just been, it's been crazy. And this is more so of a freestyle video. I was thinking about it because I was watching My Expert Opinion with Math Hoffa. I noticed that all the East Coast people, Gilly and Wallow.
I just heard that Kendrick Lamar did fuck with Kendrick, but that shit was going on the cob, man.
Mace and Cam.
Who's winning? How about that? That's a better question. Who's winning the battle to you right now?
Drake is definitely winning.
I feel like the East Coast really is being extremely biased because they believe that their opinions and their thoughts on hip hop is the one that's the most correct.
I do feel like the standard of music would have stayed high if New York was, New York had a longer run of control.
They don't feel as though other people's experience, a lot of the times, even like just the OGs in general, they come up with these scenarios of like, even like Ice Cube. Like Kendrick has been getting beat up all sides, it feels like. Because even a person like Ice Cube, where he's like, man, my song was the greatest diss song of all time.
No Vaseline, one MC, one motherfucker, me, took out four niggas and the manager.
And it was like none of those people could rap though, Ice Cube. Like it wasn't a good battle. Okay, you could say it was a good diss song, no Vaseline. Pause. You could say it was a good diss song, but like you wasn't going against any worthy opponents. You were the writer. You were the soul of that group when it comes to the rap side. So you even see it with Ice Cube. But my point is everybody feels as though their opinion and their experience is the only hip hop black cultural experience. It's like if Kendrick doesn't talk about that one guy on Slauson Swap Meet that had the red cap on, that Game or whoever from Compton or whoever from LA saw, then nah, that ain't real. I feel as though that happens with Kendrick a lot because you got Game and people from the West Coast like, man, he ain't a thug. He ain't really was outside. Like he ain't banging.
Game is that guy, okay? Compared to fucking Kendrick, Kendrick was like a fucking supposed to be a nerd or just a regular guy. And now all of a sudden he's like,
and it's like the people from the East Coast, they hate because that's not hip hop. This is hip hop.
That's not hip hop.
They come up with these what if scenarios. I hate these what if scenarios, bro.
There's not a lot of lyrics. We're not hearing a lot of lyricism nowadays. So when someone like Kendrick does come, it sounds so phenomenal. I don't think that if lyrics was the popular thing, I don't think Kendrick would be up there like that.
If Kendrick was walking outside in the 80s, he'd get beat up. Or it's like these weird scenarios. If the sun ain't yellow on Thursday, Kendrick ain't a good rapper. If the sun was blue, Kendrick wouldn't be a good rapper. J. Cole wouldn't survive in the 80s. You know, it's like all these different what if scenarios only come from hip hop because there is no freaking standard. And the thing that made me kind of like come up with this video, hip hop debates being pointless, is because Professor Sky shouted me out recently, which is crazy. Shout out to Professor Sky. Like, he's in the hip hop Hall of Fame because he's in that montage of The Heart Part 6. I don't know if y'all saw that before, but I see it a lot on the internet.
One record where you say you got, ah, fuck me, I just made the whole connection.
First of all, he misreads the text. The text itself is about the fact that his mother...
Shout out to Professor Sky. I was watching a video, minding my business, on a random day, and Professor Sky is looking at Wobble Up video, and he referenced my video.
This image I sort of got, but this is the thing. If you are, based on what I've seen on YouTube, watching other people, especially ReedMySole's analysis of this is great because he shows a picture of himself with his family that is of the exact same type. Like, he explains precisely his moment.
And this is a different conversation for a different day. Maybe me and him have to talk about this. I think a lot of the outsiders, a lot of the white boys, let's keep it real, they're good at breakdowns because it's not personal to them. They're really good at breakdowns because they're removed from it. So they're not making it personal. I feel as though in hip hop, every person feels as though their experience should be the hip hop experience that's regurgitated out to the world, or that's pushed out to the world, to where Professor Sky, since he is an outsider, everything is impersonal to him. So he sees things and he relates the Tyler the Creator album to David Bowie, right? That's his kind of like piece. And it's like, oh, that's not something I saw. I just heard Take Your Mask Off and I thought about going to church and I thought about my personal experience. For me personally, it's hard for me to like deep dive into like the hip hop into like a grandiose thing on a macro level, because on the micro, I'm looking at it from my lens of how that relates to me, because I feel as though the music is for me. So even when I do my breakdowns, I look at it from a very personal perspective. I don't do these deep dives and I try to relate it to my experience of like how I know the picture that the girls were taking because I have that picture. I've done those pictures. We have those pictures.
And this moment, the pointing at it, for him is always going to be more powerful than the pointing moment for me. Because for me, it's an abstract thing. That's his thing. Like pointing and saying, but like, this is how he felt. This was his life.
I use on my Avi and on my background in my YouTube now is pictures of me as a kid, because I'm still that same kid. I've seen a bunch of breakdowns where Kendrick is still the same kid, but he's playing with bigger cars now. He's doing bigger things. But that's how I relate. And I think a lot of African Americans in America feel that way because a lot of our youth was stolen from us through poverty and different things like that. But Professor Sky, it made so much sense when he said that. Like he doesn't get that aha moment as much as I do because he's an outsider. And I felt as though, damn, that's why hip hop debates are pointless, because everybody has a different aha moment.
But then we get to this image, and this is what is just hilarious to me. Basically nobody who I saw recognized this image. And to me, it gave me such joy to see this image, because I have spent so much of my life, yeah, that's me. I've spent so much of my life staring at the Power cassette.
I don't know if I'm explaining it well. I'm just kind of ranting about just the inconsistencies that we have within hip hop media and people's opinions. There's no equilibrium. There's no happy medium. Everybody has their own opinion and everybody thinks their own opinion is correct. So we never get anywhere. It's always this comparison contrast thing to like the 70s or to like the 80s or to like the 90s it's always this comparison contrast. Oh, he ain't better than this person in the 80s and the 90s. And it's like, why do we have to have that? Like, I hate these what if scenarios of like, even they do it to LeBron. Yo, LeBron, even though LeBron is big, they give LeBron credit for being bigger than everybody, stronger than everybody, and then at the same time, oh, if LeBron would have survived in the 80s and 90s.
Be out of your goddamn mind. Joe Louis, the greatest boxer ever lived. He was bad in Cassius Clay. He bad in Sugar Ray. He bad in that. The new boy got Mike Tyson.
Always these comparison contrast things and these what if scenarios, because people be haters in hip hop. I'm gonna keep it real. People be haters. OGs, everyday common folk be haters, yo.
Name of his album. One of the name of his album, Good Boy Mad City.
And the Game is the type of motherfucker that, like he was actually not a good boy.
Game is a good LA rapper. Kendrick Lamar is a good MC.
There is no point of getting a hip hop debate today because everybody has an agenda. Everybody has their own personal bias, and everybody's aha moment is different. Now is Drake is the king of fighting for everybody. And it wasn't Kanye actually going independent, right? It wasn't all of these other people that have been screaming independence forever. Nobody talking about Ryan Leslie.
I actually sold my record directly, no middleman. I sold my tickets directly, no middleman. 15,000 records times $10, that's 150,000 and went straight to my pocket.
Ryan Leslie literally got his whole thing swagger jacked from Drake. Low key, the look and everything. Started out with kid, like really talented individual. Nobody's bringing Ryan Leslie up. No, it's Drake. It's Drake because he lost a rap battle and wants to sue so we can stop payola. It's a lot of hypocrisy. The arguing in hip hop it's not worth it. My whole thing is those aha moments are so different from so many people. Hip hop can never ever, come together. That's the reason why so many outsiders in hip hop. I think it's almost like we'll rather champion a Jack Harlow or a Drake because we don't know their backstory. Only Drake can tell you about Canada. Only Drake is the biggest person. Shout out to Cardinal Official. I was listening to him way before Drake, so that was like my intro into Toronto. Drake has the privilege of being one of the biggest people. Like Justin Bieber is going to tell you about Canada. In hip-hop, Drake is the only person that can, there's nobody in his city that's like, nah, right? The only other person was Tory Lanez, then he became friends with him. The only other person was The Weeknd, and there's nobody from the real hip-hop space that can compete with him that's saying, nah, that's really not the Toronto experience. But Kendrick, Snoop Dogg low-key hating, Ice Cube low-key hating, The Game low-key hating, other people popping out low-key hating. I mean, the West, for a majority of it, they're like, yeah, but there are people out there that's like, oh, he wasn't outside, that's not really the West Coast experience, right. It's always, you always being questioned and checked. And then you got the New York people that's just hating because they got New York bias. So hip-hop is always hard to crown a king unless it's an outsider. Eminem, perfect example of, man, nobody can mess with the white boy. But nobody says that. No, it's very hard to get people to come to that agreement for Kendrick, for Black Thought, for Andre 3000. Everybody is like, if you're from the South, you're going to take Andre 3000. It's like everybody has this aha moment and it negatively affects everybody because nobody can come to agreement and say, no, this is dope. It's always my opinion or this bias or this personal relationship that blocks people from being honest, right? Like battle rappers, they've been coming out against, oh, don't mess with Lil Wayne because they've been hating on Kendrick, picking Drake the whole time. And that's because Drake partnered up with Caffeine, who partnered up with the URL, like, right, and put bread in most battle rappers' pockets. He was working with Hollow the Dawn. He's been at shows. He's literally been at shows up until like 2-3 years ago. Like he's been there, like sitting there listening to the raps and stuff. So of course they're gonna side with him. So hip hop is like that. It's so high schooly. It's so, that's not real hip hop. This is real hip hop. And I see that a lot in my comments where people try to bring up like Mark Rossiano and all these different people. It's like, underground hip hop gonna stay underground, and the moment an underground artist tries to even look at a mainstream success, they gonna turn on him. So there's always these rules and these, if you selling too much, he's pop, he a part of the industry, right? Like it's so annoying. Like I ain't gonna lie. If you want to make a channel and you want to have your opinion and your agenda pushed, make your own YouTube channel. And to just close this video out real quick, hip hop is the only genre that you're expected to give something different and something similar at the very same time. Other genres, pop music, country music, rock music, they give you the same formula over and over and over again. The funny thing is about other genres, they actually use hip hop to sound different. Like country music right now is experiencing that. Their beats and their cadence and everything they're doing over there is starting to sound a little bit more like R&B and hip hop. In hip hop, the people that have the best discographies are Kanye West, Drake, Kendrick, because every album sounds so different. So in hip hop, you're under this more intense scrutiny of, we want the same thing, but we want something different every time. And that's the reason why those are the three big artists, because none of their albums sound alike. When Kanye actually stopped doing something that was totally different, they say those are his worst albums. Yay, Jesus is King. It didn't change the sound of music, so people kind of can it. You talk about Yeezus, you talking about 808s, you talking about College Dropout, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. These albums sound totally different. The same thing with Kendrick. To Pimp a Butterfly doesn't sound like Damned, and Damned doesn't sound like Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, and Good Kid, Mad City doesn't sound like GNX. So if you just look at it, hip hop is just, it's weird because we all have the same kind of point of views. It's like, well, hip hop comes from like the struggle and comes from like this. So, for me, it's just difficult having a hip hop debate because there is no baseline There is no guideline. It's just people's feelings and people's thoughts and people's opinions. And because hip hop is kind of like an amalgamation of other things, it's really sometimes hard to come to a common agreement because everybody's aha moment, everybody's point of contention, everybody's point of view is so vastly different than each other. And that's the crazy thing. Hip hop, we don't come and try to do the same thing. We always try to reinvent the wheel. That's the crazy thing about hip hop and why it's so hard to dominate hip hop, because we have to reinvent the wheel every time we give you an offering, but still be the same. It's really weird. Jay-Z went through this a lot, where people, you don't like my new, buy my old album. So, you know, hip hop is one of those genres that has a very difficult time just in general, whether it comes to arguments and being on top of it, because things change so much. I hope I got to my point. I had to use Professor Sky as inspiration because it just started to make sense that everybody's point of view in hip hop is so vastly different that it just makes debates horrible. Like, it just is no point. It's pointless. And I think that's what has kept hip hop alive for this long, is that there is no, you can't never put your thumb on it exactly. There is so much vastly different about every offering from hip hop. If you look at even an artist like LL Cool J, he gave you different, like, from Mama Said Knock You Out, Can't Live Without My Radio, to I Need Love, to I'ma Love You Better, to Head Sprung. Like, it's kind of crazy how vastly different all of that sound is in one genre. And maybe that's a good thing. Maybe the reason why we can't come to a common agreement is the reason why this thing that was supposed to be a fad is still alive. I just wanted to throw LL Cool J in there because he deserves some of his credit. He's a GOAT. But I'm out of here. Like I said, comment, like, subscribe, ring that notification bell if you want to donate to the channel. I appreciate that. Cash App link right here. If you want to become a member, link in the description. We appreciate you. I got some videos on membership that I think you might like. But I'm out of here. Peace.